We salute thy
Stuart
shorts.
Carlton.
I mean, we have a whole mountain in our background for the Wrestledream poster, so I'm like, what can I salute to? The mountain. So we salute your shorts. I'm a child of the 90s, so those of you who were around during that time know that reference. But hi, all
There
you
you
BC, hi, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition. We are back for a second week in a row for Grapple Gurus, your BC WrestlePod PPV and PLE review show here, where we cover all the pay-per-views that happen within the wrestling sphere. And tonight we have, I lovely D, the All Elite Insight crew here, also a part of the All Elite Ensemble review. Ensemble. I don't know why we're French all of a sudden, but we are. But we are here tonight to review AEW Wrestledream, which we are about 48 hours away from.
Apart from
everything else, but I will be steering the ship a little bit, and joining me this evening as of right now is one half of Team A&A. We just have Adolfo representing the one half of Team A&A here. But Adolfo, I am happy that you're here because it was a whirlwind of Wrestledream for sure.
I mean, spoilers, I enjoyed it, so I'm excited. We didn't really get to talk more spoilers. We really didn't get to talk off stage. So we're like going into this hot with our takes. So I'm excited to hear what Mikey's got.
Well, I'm gonna save it till we get to the end, because if anybody has paid attention to our social medias, I've started doing like the recap videos as well as my personal grades for everything. So if anyone saw those, some folks were like, "Are you sure you want to give it that grade?" And I was like, "Why not?" Because I thoroughly enjoyed myself. But we will talk about that at the very end, because we got a lot of matches to get through for Wrestledream. We had 9 on the main card, and as we found out the day of, we had 4 on 0 hour. So we had a total of 13 matches, as we should be used to this by now, Adolfo, with so many matches on an AEW card. But you know what? They continue to surprise us a little bit. But let us begin, because we are just immediately going to jump into 0 hour with the only match that was advertised in advance. And kicking us off of 0 hour on Saturday night was the ROH World Television Championship. We had our defending champion, Atlantis Jr., representing CMLL, taking on the challenger, Mr. Swolverine himself, and Adolfo's baby daddy, Brian Cage. I wish I did more in our group chat when we were texting about watching this, because I was screaming at my television. I was pulling for Brian Cage so hard. Nothing against Atlantis Jr., because Atlantis is fantastic. He is a mainstay in CMLL. But for those of us that review ROH every single week, we want to see more of our champions regularly on television. And as sad as I was to see Atlantis Jr. lose the title here, I was almost on the verge of tears of joy that Brian Cage, the Swolverine, has a singles title in this AEW umbrella company. He is the new ROH World Television Champion. And I'm like, thank the wrestling gods. I was like, Brian Cage is about to go on a tear, and I'm here for it. The match itself was actually really fantastic. And as commentary pointed out, and we say this all the time in ROH, Atlantis Jr. needs somebody who can match his style or has worked with the luchador before in order to get a really great match. And as we all know, Brian Cage does work that lucha style very well, despite his size. Shoot, go check out his work in Lucha Underground. That was phenomenal and crazy. Brian Cage ultimately picks up the victory. Adolfo, let's kick this thing off. What did you think about the match itself? And give your thoughts about us having our first new champion of the evening.
First of all, congratulations, Brian Cage. Call me. Second, this was a really fun first match. I was concerned when I first saw the card with Atlantis Jr. and Brian Cage, but I knew that Brian Cage could match that luchador style, that luchador energy. They wrestled really well. There were not, because sometimes when you get a luchador wrestling a luchador. There's some of those like hiccups, kind of like when you're playing a video game and like it lags and it's kind of like you know. We really didn't have any of that. I too was very happy that Brian Cage got the win. Not that I wanted Atlantis Jr. to lose. I just yes, the ROH title needs to be with an ROH person, you know. Especially because Atlantis Jr. his bread and butter is down in Mexico with CMLL, you know, and to keep the ROH title down there. I mean, yes, he has been up to ROH to defend it and whatnot, but you know, to keep the title down there, I feel like it was doing that the belt a disservice. You know, much like Willow holding the CMLL Women's Championship and not coming down to Mexico until she came to Mexico and lost it to Hooksies, who's you know, who has it in CMLL and is back in CMLL. So yeah, all good vibes all around on this one. Very happy.
I was super happy, and I'm excited to see. So now this is not Brian Cage's first singles championship, but since they retired the FTW championship, this is his first real piece of singles championship gold in AEW.
Yep. I would just like to note it was very interesting that Brian Cage chose his Vanilla Gorilla ring gear tonight instead of the Swerve ring gear. So that's it.
That's okay. I will say, I was rewatching this last night with a friend of mine while also texting our other lovely co-host, Will, for other reasons. And just, I was like, hey, Will, you should at least watch 0 Hour. He texted me later this morning. He's like, Vanilla Gorilla? I was like, yeah, that's kind of the thing he's going on. Is like, then he's like, sign me up. I was like, and there we go. That's what I knew was going to happen. But hey, Will, you're going to have to fight Adolfo for it because there can only be one.
There could be only one.
There can only be one. Brian Cage can only be one baby daddy to somebody, and Adolfo called dibs. Alrighty, so we're going to move on from this match. I thought this was a really fun opener, and then we get into the rest of 0 Hour. So the other two matches were announced on Rampage the night before, and then 0 Hour announced its fourth one later. But the first match that was announced on Rampage the day before, we have a singles match between our lovable, crazy lunatic Harley Cameron, representing the Outcast here, taking on the returning Anna Jay, who just came off of a stint in Japan, competing in the Stardom Princess, tournament, which she did an awesome job. She ended 3-3, which is fantastic. And prior to this, she, for the last week and a half or so, she's been putting the women's division on notice, saying that she's ready for a fight. And lo and behold, Harley Cameron was just spunky enough to step up to the plate. And then I just sat there. I'm like, ooh, girl, you in danger, girl. But look, a lot of people necessarily aren't too big of fans of Harley Cameron. And yes, she is still very green. But I thought she did a fantastic match in this job. And Anna Jay did a really great job of putting her over in the parts that matter. But Anna Jay picks up the victory here in a very fun bout, in my opinion. 0 Hour was a lot of fun. I'm going to be bringing that up a lot as we talk about 0 Hour. This was a lot of fun. But yeah, Anna Jay picks up the victory here. In the critique session, we'll talk about it because we could have had another women's match on the main card, but we'll talk about that later. But Adolfo, this is the second match of 0 Hour. Anna Jay is back in full force. Harley Cameron is also here. What did you think about this match?
Those people, those critics of this match, I dare them to go back a few months and watch the first time Harley Cameron and Anna Jay wrestled against each other, and then come back and watch this. Because as I've said, week in, week out, Harley Cameron is putting in that work, and she's getting better and better and better and better. And this match showed that. It was great to see Anna Jay back, showing really, really good strength. I feel like she even picked up a few new moves from her stint in Japan. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, no, they both worked really well. Do we think that this is kind of slowly building into a Harley Cameron push?
I would not be surprised if we started pushing Harley Cameron. I do think, though, we need to find somebody who Harley can feud with for a little bit. So I originally thought that might have been Jamie Hayter, but it seems that Jamie and Saraya and the whole Outcast crew is done, because it seems that we're going to be setting up something else, because lo and behold, on Dynamite, we got the return of Penelope Ford. So Kip Sabian's wife, which makes me super excited. Penelope and Jamie might be fighting it out, which makes me super excited. But I'm ready to see Harley Cameron start getting pushed a little more and start having her more matches. Hey, you know what? If we want to continue with Anna Jay, I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but her versus Julia when Julia's ready to come back would be kind of funny to watch. Harley Cameron deal with the spookiness that is the House of Black.
Yep. I just if they start a like a legitimate push for Harley, I hope they let her retain that chaotic kookiness that she has, that I has just, it's grown on me. It's grown on me, and I love it, you know?
I do too. I really want to see Harley do more, but I'm also happy to see Anna Jay back. So hopefully we get to, we'll push Anna Jay to do something now that she's back. I mean, she called out Mercedes. We currently got Chris and dealing with Mercedes and Camille. So Anna Jay and Chris Statlander teaming up would be great. And then you literally have two women who can potentially go up against Mercedes for the title. So there we go. We set it up, AEW. Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Okay.
No notes.
This was no notes. Okay, this was pure perfection. Like, I don't give a flying monkey's uncle what anybody says. This was perfection. So first and foremost, even prior to this match happening, so the Acclaim came out on Rampage. MXM Collection attacked them, on Rampage as they were making their entrances. And so the Acclaim were like, hey, you know what? We'll meet you in the ring at Wrestledream. And you know what? Since you want to complain about making it a fair fight, why don't you bring someone to even out the odds? Because MXM Collection said that they had someone to be in their corner since the Acclaim had Billy Gunn. Never in my wildest dreams, Adolfo, nor was it on my Wrestledream bingo card. Prior to the match, we cut backstage with MXM Collection, and there's just this is like, they are doing their shtick, and we love it. But then it's like, isn't that right, Rico? And then out comes Rico of WWE, WWF fame, former partner of Billy and Chuck, and he's like, you look so good to me. And I'm just like, oh my God, we went there. This is a 10 out of 10. Do not care. This was before the match started. Yep. Then the match happened. And again, this was everything I wanted. MXM Collection doing their thing.
Boy, what did they do to my boy? I love it. I love it. Oh God, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Like, because this was fantastic. Billy and Rico were getting involved. Like, I get a laugh out of this all the time, but Mason's like hip check butt attack thing. I was like, it's so prominent. What are you doing? But holy crap, this match was amazing. Acclaim and MXM Collection went back and forth. Rico got the famouser from Billy Gunn, which was fantastic. Unfortunately, MXM Collection does lose, but happy to see the Acclaim win.
Yep.
This was a fantastic belt. This is a perfect way to utilize Rico. No notes, 10 out of 10. Adolfo, let's listen. The queerness was real in this match. Talk to me.
Well, but yes, the queerness was real, but this was just a fun match. It was the essence of a fun match, and if you're the type of wrestling fan that doesn't like fun matches, that everything has to be serious, don't watch this match. But if you like watching fun matches that are well put together, please hunt this down on YouTube and watch it, because it was just so entertaining, like, yeah, no notes.
No, it's fantastic. Need a rematch immediately. Make it a best of 3. I'm here for this.
Oh yeah, please. Don't let this be a one and done. I'm invested in this whole MXM.
You had a
Acclaim.
whole fashion show.
Yes.
Let's continue. Like, especially since it seems Outrunners and MXM Collection are going to be kept apart for a little bit. Like, let's have the Acclaim of MXM, because this is fantastic. But yeah, no notes. So then we get to our final match of 0 Hour, which was announced on 0 Hour that this was going to be happening. But speaking of the Outrunners, we have the Outrunners teaming up with Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly of the Conglomeration, taking on the team of the Premier Athletes and Dark Order. I
have mixed emotions about this match.
So I have mixed emotions. I'm going to start with the bad, because I do have some positive. I don't care about Premier Athletes. I've said this multiple times. I don't like that Dark Order gets jobbed out half the time. So I was like, they were a credible threat, and now we're just jobbing them out to the stars. However, I will say John Silver, aka Johnny Hungy, continues to be one of the favorite things of Dark Order. He is just so good. Give this man something. Now on to the positives, though. The Outrunners are flipping over with this crowd. They got so much of the action on their side. Like, Orange and Kyle were hyping them up. Let's be real. This was probably the coming out party for Outrunners. So it was like, they were already loved before, but this is to be like, hey, they're a sticky gimmick, but they can actually wrestle, and they are a great tag team. And the fact that they get to be paired up with Kyle and Orange here, and they're paired up with FTR on Collision. Like, look, when we get to our tag team match, if you build these boys up the way that you have built up like other fun, jokey tag teams to be credible threats, because let's be real, nobody was looking at the Acclaim being, oh, those are tag champs right there because of the shtick. Then you built them up when they initially faced Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland for those tag titles at All Out 2 years ago. And I was yelling at my screen, rooting for those boys. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're making me care. Go, Max, go, Anthony, do it. And then they lost. Of course, they got it at Grand Slam, but I'm like, AEW has this weird thing where you build your jokey characters to be super serious. They show out, but then they're just short of winning. But let the Outrunners be the exception to this, because this crowd is hot for them. The AEW universe loves them. They continue to pull in the numbers for merch. Like, they're in the top 10 of selling merch, and they've barely been here for like less than 6 months. The match itself, I thought, was fun. I have my critiques. I have my positives. But Adolfo, what did you think of this last-minute 8-man tag?
I mean, the only thing I want to add is I was really happy that it was Truth Magnum that got the pin.
I believe so.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Truth got the pin. And like you said, it was the Outrunners coming out party. And yeah, I'm excited to see more of them. Regarding this match, it was okay. It was a 0 hour match. Like talking wrestling wise, technique and and story and all that stuff. It was a 0 hour match. But like you said, the positive, the Outrunners were lifted up, and yeah, let's keep pushing them, baby.
Oh, absolutely. I will say this too. This match also was the only one that didn't have any story builds, because surprisingly enough, even with our ROH television championship, that had a story on if we've been watching ROH, because this has been building to it. And then, of course, Anna and Harley was there on Rampage, and then MXM Collection and Acclaim have been going at it for weeks too. So This was fantastic. Overall, 0 hour was a lot of fun. And if I was just perusing 0 hour minus the 8-man tag, I'd be like, you know what? This is pretty fun. Let me check out the rest of the pay-per-view. Let me buy it real quick.
Right. Exactly.
And then when you bought said pay-per-view, then we get into the meat and potatoes of it all, because now let's go into the main card. And I'm not gonna lie, I was very surprised to see this next match start us off, but then in hindsight, with what we got throughout the night, this was a perfect opener. But opening the main card of Wrestledream, we have Hangers, we have Agro, Hangman, Adam Page.
Agro, Hangman, and Page.
Yeah. Hangman, Agro, Page taking on the returning Switchblade, Jay White. We love our New Zealander Kiwi friend here. Yes, yes. Guns up, baby. This was a really good match. I was like,
dare I say, as the kids say, it was a banger.
It was a banger. And this is gonna sound crazy to say, but they told a story in this match because
God, they did. Holy yes.
Don't worry, I'm saving all my explicitives when we get to a certain match because I was yelling explicitives for a certain individual, a certain person / team to win, but we'll talk about it here. But Jay White, because Hangman hurts his knee in this match, and then Hangman continues to target. No, not Hangman. Jay White continues to target said knee. Good back and forth, and the knee just eventually gives out because as Hangman, who has been targeted with that knee by Jay White, tries to go for a buckshot lariat, just can't get it done. But let me tell you, that was crisp the way that we went into a buckshot lariat immediately into Jay White's Blade Runner.
Yup.
Jay White hits the Blade Runner on Hangman Agro Page, gets the 1, 2, 3. Your winner is the returning Jay White, which, hey, I was already excited for the night after Jay White won. I was like, hey, I'm 2-0 so far in these predictions. Let's go, baby. But Jay White is your winner. So Adolfo, talk to me, my friend.
All right. I don't know if Jay White just has that natural talent, or if once he was healed up enough, he just like camped out in a ring and just like practice, because he did not look like he had any ring rust whatsoever in this match. He looked so sharp. What was it? I believe it was Tony Schiavone that said that that he's an incredible counter wrestler, and yes, he is. He, like, everything that Hangman Adam Page threw at him, Jay White countered. I also got to give Hangman Adam Page's flowers too. They both worked really well. They both sold the story that was being told, the damage that was being done. I loved how Hangman Adam Page, he just like a predatory animal was just like sitting there waiting to hit that buckshot lariat, and Jay White kind of like went in range and then like came out of range, and then like Hangman like loosened up a little bit. It was such a good anticipation type thing that they had going on with that. That was it was so good. That buckshot into the Blade Runner was ridiculous. How about the PB on the steps? Oh, the power bomb. How about the power bomb on the steps?
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Like,
that was just yeah. That was crazy. But yeah, Jay, being a smart wrestler, targeted that knee, and it worked out for him. He got that win. Really intense match, really good match. I felt like this was a great, yes, okay, here we are, Wrestledream. Give it to me. You can ask Alice, as a matter of fact, that when Jay White won, I squeed happily. So
I'm so happy that Jay White's back from injury, and he did win this match. So something tells me we are not quite done with the Hangman and the Jay White, but you know what?
I hope not.
Give me more. I want more of this. This is going to be fantastic. Now, tomorrow when we get together for our AEW, because Jay White did say there are 2 people that he has on his quote unquote hit list. Hangman was one, and then he has another person, and we'll talk about that second person tomorrow. But we move on from our opener into our second match of the main card, which admittedly I was kind of a little miffed because as the only women's match on the card, this is where you're going to put it second. This is kind of the same way I felt at Full Gear last year when they put the women's title match third on the card. But hey, I took it back immediately because Mariah and Willow did the damn thing with the time that they had. Let me tell you something. Like, the match itself was fantastic. Time
out. We need to address the elephant in the room, and that is how fabulous their ring gear was.
Oh my God, it was so
Mariah's real. Black and white, and then Willow's blue and gold. Thank you. Next.
It was chef's kiss, as the kids say.
Like,
their ring gear was stunning, and I was just like, shout out to the designers, man. Or if they made them themselves, because wrestling gear is really hard to make, you guys. It's really difficult.
And Mariah even had like the lips on her butt cheek there.
I love the little bows that embellished it.
Yes.
Again, I'm a fashion person, so we could be here all day, but
forget about it.
The gear was phenomenal, and the in-ring, while this ring gear was phenomenal, the in-ring was also phenomenal because these ladies, they literally went to war in the sense, because Willow is showing off her power. Like, I'd never get tired of the spot with someone running at Willow and then she pushes them like halfway across the ring.
Oh, shoulder tackles him. Yeah, yes, so good.
And then the power bombs from Willow. But when I tell you, I passed out of joy because Willow, the finishing sequence was, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Willow gets Mariah May on the top turnbuckle like she's going to do a power bomb, which then turns into a head scissors kind of counter. And then Mariah May just seamlessly jumps into the knee strike into the Zorm Zero for the win. Like, oh, that finishing sequence was beautiful because they faked us out. I was like, oh, Willow's going to do it. And then Mariah counters into that to hit her with the knee strike and the Storm Zero. Mariah May is your still AEW Women's World Champion. But Adolfo, what would you like to add to this Women's World Championship match?
I am thoroughly enjoying when Mariah May leans heavy into that sinister edge. There was a moment when she had Willow tied up in the ropes, and she did that thing where she brought her face like right next to Willow's and had this just sinister smile on her face of this pain that she was giving. Yeah, like I love it when she leans into that, you know. Willow showing a bit of an edge that we haven't seen. She bit Mariah May. A lot of biting this pay-per-view, by the way.
A lot of
she bit Mariah May. Yeah. And then also with that figure 4 submission that she put onto Mariah May, I haven't. That's something that we haven't seen from Willow. Kind of showing the depth of her tool of her cache of moves that she knows, which was really cool. Because she's not here, I do have to bring this up because Alice brought it up, and it's a very interesting point. Not sure if you've noticed this, but have you noticed Mariah May hits the Mayday 1-2 ooh. Mariah May hits the Storm Zero 1-2-3.
Yeah, because now she's getting into the nitty gritty of taking when she said she was going to take everything from Toni Storm, she means it. She's going to take her moveset now too, which I'm so excited. This is going to be fantastic.
But I feel like there's a flip side to that, you know, because Mariah May tries her own signature move and that doesn't do the thing. But she hits Toni Storm's move, the person who she's trying to get out of the shadow of, and she does the thing, you know? So I think that's very interesting. I'm wondering if that's going to be something that comes up later on when Tony Storm comes back, like how, they like get in an argument, and Tony Storm, can just be like, yeah, well, you can't win with your move. You have to use my move to win, type thing. So yeah, that was that.
It was. We'll talk more about Tony Storm offline because I'm so excited. But anyways, it is. So I thought this was a really great match. This is fantastic. Love that finishing sequence. Mariah May walks out of Wrestledream, still your AEW Women's World Champion. Good job, girls. So proud of you, especially as the only women's match on the main card. But we'll talk about it more at the very end. Now, I'm going to invoke Alice in this because she was, spoiler alert, she was big mad at the ending of this match.
Yeah, she was.
And I was like, let me think about this. Let me rewatch this match. And she's not here, so I feel bad. But I kind of dug the way that this ended. Now, minus of like everyone and their mother showing up at the end. That's a whole different story. But
right,
I thought this was smart. But before we get into all of that, the TNT championship was being defended. We have our champion, the scapegoat, Jack Perry, defending his title against the wrestler himself, Katsuyori Shibata. Again, this match had a very short build where Katsuyori Shibata's like, hey, I want to fight you for that title. We should do it. Jack Perry's like, let me think about it. 5 seconds later, decks him in the face. I accept your challenge. And, Shabata and Private Party got a big win over the EVPs last week on Rampage in that 3-on-3 match. And thus, here we are. Shabata is just so damn good. Like, Shabata is great.
He is.
You know what? Perry kept up with him very well. I love the exchange of the chops. The kicks were fantastic. I thought everything leading into this match was pretty great. Now let's talk about this finisher, though, because we here in this BC WrestlePod house are divided because Alice hated it. I initially did, but I kind of love it. So Adolfo is probably going to either play Switzerland or pick a side, which, he should pick, a certain side. But Shibata gets Perry into like this submission.
Yeah. It was like it was one of those like headlocks, but then he wrapped his legs around Jack Perry as well, but they were on the ground.
They were on the ground.
Very MMA style.
Which
submission.
Love that. It was great. But then I kind of popped as a wrestling nerd because as soon as Shibata got Perry down into the submission, but Shibata is laying on the mat, Perry's like, about to be choked out. Perry, in his last strength of, cognizance, he bridges himself up, so it lifts him up off the mat while pinning Shibata's shoulders to the mat. And then the ref counts 1, 2, 3. Your winner and still TNT champion, the scapegoat, Jack Perry. I thought this was flipping smart on Perry's part. Like, this was, it was so it was so Dick Dastardly. I love it so much.
Well, but more to the point, I feel it now.
He's being smart, which I love as a champion.
Right. It shows Jack Perry's ring acumen, which he has amassed over all the years of wrestling. He's not a young spring chicken anymore in the biz. He's been doing it, so good and good on them that they're making him a smart heel wrestler instead of just like emo heel wrestler that has to cheat to win. I thought that was very smart on Jack Perry's part. Whether it was whether it was a botch or actual Jack Perry was like, oh, I got to do this. The other things from this match that were enjoyable to me is I love it when Shabata no sells.
Oh my gosh, it is like my favorite thing that he does. It's just like, yeah, hit me harder. Come on now, you can do it. So good.
Yeah, definitely.
But before we move on, New to the chat. Hey, Nathan. Nathan Dewey.
Hello, Nathan.
I was good with the finish. Some people thought it made Shabata look dumb, but the guy got DDT'd on the floor, which we did not mention that, but he did get DDT on the floor. So kayfabe-wise, he was probably knocked loopy on top of Perry being a slimy worm. Shout out to new person Nathan in the chat. Thank you for the comment. And yeah, Nathan, I kind of agree. Initially, I didn't like the finish. I was like, oh, what is this? But upon rewatching it, I was like, no, because now this is going... Now we're going somewhere different with Jack Perry, because beforehand he was just being a little chicken-esque little heel running around. But now he's playing smart, which we don't have too many smart heels, especially heel champions, who are going to use their opponent's movesets against them. And sure enough, Shabata, yes, did get DDT'd, which was gnarly to watch in this match. It was kind of great. But he used Shabata's accoutrement of submission specialism to his detriment and was able to use it against Shabata to win. I thought this was a fun match. At first, I didn't like it, but upon the second watch, I was like, you know what? I like this match a lot more. Now, let's talk about the gong show that was what happened afterwards. So
this upset me, but go ahead.
This is where we get the first negative points, and this is where we get the first negativo points, and this is where I agree with Simon Miller on this. Shout out to, the bald and the beautiful. That is Simon Miller. So, Shabata is like, man, I can't believe I lost, but it is what it is. Jack Perry goes to attack Shabata afterwards, after he leaves, and then comes back to attack Shabata. And then first we get Daniel Garcia's music hitting. So Daniel Garcia on Dynamite did say that he re-signed with AEW, which we're happy to see.
Yep.
Hopefully we do something more with him this time and don't throw him with Jericho ever again, please. But
Daniel Garcia comes out.
He comes out, him and Jack Perry.
Which was fine to protect Shabata, which is fine.
So Jack Perry and him have a stand down. I was like, okay, cool. Jack Perry versus Daniel Garcia. This could be fun. Now, had this been it, I would have been okay with.
Right.
But then we get into the middle, because then all of a sudden MJF's music hits. So MJF is back. And so Daniel Garcia, thank goodness, was smart about it, because he was looking everywhere for MJF, not knowing where this man was going to pop up from, which was great. MJF comes down to the ring. Him and Daniel Garcia have a face-off. Ended there? Fine. But no. Jack Perry comes back with a cheap shot, knocks out Daniel Garcia. MJF beats up Daniel Garcia, cuts a promo on Daniel Garcia. We got the diamond ring back, goes to the corner to, nail Daniel Garcia with the diamond ring. And then to end this off, we get, it's all about the boom hits. And then we get a babyface ? Adam Cole returning, and he runs down MJF. MJF leaves. We told way too many stories in this one segment.
In a 5-minute time span, we told like 3 different stories. My head was spinning.
So like, keeping track of it all. I don't know if Shabata is done with Perry. I'm gonna say probably, because it seems we're getting Perry and Daniel Garcia for this title. But then we also have MJF and Adam Cole reuniting their feud, which I'm gonna be all the way honest, Adolfo. Like, I feel like we are a day and $1 short from me caring about this. Like, we're revisiting this. Yes, we need closure on it, but man, like, they fumbled the bag of how they dealt with Adam Cole's injury after he was revealed with the devil. Like, who knows where the other vanilla gorilla is in Wardlow? And now that the Undisputed Kingdom are with Roddy, and they're might be going babyface from what it seems like the last couple of weeks. This is a whole mess, Adolfo. This is messy.
Yeah, I don't want to dig too deep in on this review.
Check it out, our review tomorrow.
Yeah, I want to dissect it more tomorrow. But there was a lot. Not that I wasn't happy to see MJF and Adam Cole and Daniel Garcia back. I was super happy. I'm super happy that they're back. It just it was just like this big, like a traffic jam of stories that kind of happened, that it almost took me out of the momentum that the pay-per-view that Wrestledream was carrying, but that's it. Like I said, I don't want to, because there's more I want to talk about regarding actual Wrestledream. So As a matter of fact, the next match. We can move on to the next match now.
Yep. Oh, look, I'm just gonna put this out where I was talking to a friend of mine, and he is a big Will Ospreay, not a big fan of his, which we respect wrestling opinions here. And I was like, you know what? That is fair. Like, I see your viewpoint. I'm still gonna say this was my match of the night. This shit rocked. This was amazing. But for the AEW International Championship, we have Will Ospreay defending his title against Ricochet. And I want him to go back to his like Oni moniker, which it seems that he's doing in Konosuke Takeshita. When I tell you, Adolfo, this match slapped. It was a banger. This was easily my match of the night. Like, for sure. This had everything I liked in these types of matches. We had flips. Takeshita throwing Ricochet and Will Ospreay like all over the place. Like so many close falls. People dying on, the ring apron with all these moves. Ricochet getting a tombstone pile driver into the table. We also got betrayal in this match. And I was screaming like a school kid because, we'll talk about, the Tacoma screw job, if you will, literally and like metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
But the AEW flipping did it. They pulled the trigger, and your winner and new AEW International Champion Konosuke Takeshita. And I was like, my boy finally gets a title. Don't fuck this up, AEW.
Yeah. Yes. Takeshita gets a title. Yes, we are happy about this. Leading up to Wrestledream, I know that we had questions about the build-up to this match, and when this match was announced, we said that this match was going to be a banger, but we had questions about the build-up and the story it told. Seeing this match as the end product to this story that they told, since Ricochet coming into AEW, I feel like they did a good job. I feel like they told a good story. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, "What are you talking about, silly pink yellow eared dude?" But I feel this was the best way to bring Ricochet in and have him in the limelight without putting a title on him. B, I feel like this was a great way to get gold onto Konosuke Takeshita, who deserves to have a belt because he has been putting that work in, and just like coming up just short each and every time. And 3, I think, as we've talked about before, this helps to forward the Will Ospreay story in AEW along because, yes, he is human. He has lost. He's lost his belt now. He's lost his best friend now. So, we have he's not the superhuman Will Ospreay that comes and just like puts on 5-star matches all the time. There's a story there. This match told a story. It told a great story. If you didn't see this match, please go find it on YouTube, watch it, then come back and listen to what we're saying, because the transitions and the interplay that these 3 had the whole match long, I'm gonna say it was like CMLL level, like choreography going on, and I don't want to say choreography making it sound like it's a bad thing. It's just like, one person would do one thing, the other person would follow up to do another thing, and then someone else, the third person would come in. There was no, and it all looked so seamless. There was never a botch. There was never like a missed minute. It was just like boom, 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 boom. Give the audience time to breathe. Boom, 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 boom. Give the audience time to breathe. Great match. Great match. And I feel that this actually gives Ricochet now has a good story to follow. And Konosuke Takeshita also has a good story to follow, because in my opinion, now Takeshita, yeah, he has gold, but now they can play off the whole, but you didn't win it clean. You had to have your boys come in to help you to win it, so now it's Takeshita has to do that thing where he has to prove that he's worthy of that gold. And now Ricochet, I feel he has a vice in Konosuke Takeshita, where Will Ospreay can now feud against Kyle Fletcher. And yeah, good. It was good.
I want to bring in Nathan back into the chat real quick. Takeshita needed to win this match, and I 100% agree, because Takeshita has been on a losing streak at major pay-per-views this year. It was time. So happy he won. So are we. Yep, and I agree with this last sentence. This had a AJ versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe TNA vibes. Absolutely. When you talk about the history of professional wrestling, that triple threat for the TNA X Division Championship between AJ Styles, the Fallen Angel at that time, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe. This was the AEW version of the modern era that gave me similar vibes, and I think that's why I loved it. It was just three fantastic wrestlers just giving it to all in the ring. And then, you know what? Just as a side note too, because it is also relevant, Takeshita will be defending that title against TNA's walking weapon, Josh Alexander, this upcoming weekend at a Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's event, which makes me excited because this two big men is about to be great. But I agree with you. I like that Will lost here because now it gives him a trajectory to go up. He has to face Kyle and, the Don Callis family now that they have Lance Archer in tow. Like, this is about to get crazy up in here, but I'm excited. I can't wait to see what's next for this scene. We got so many stories. Ricochet could go after Takeshita again, which would be another great match one-on-one. Ospreay will go full on I'm going to kill you mode with Kyle Fletcher and Don Callis. So I'm super excited.
Maybe we see Ricochet and Will Ospreay form a faction
that
to counter, the Don Callis family. I mean,
I'm very interested to see when how Mark Davis plays into this. Kyle Fletcher's tag team partner, and also United Empire brother of Will Ospreay and Kyle. Fantastic, easily my match of the night. No notes with this one. Okay, let's talk about this really quickly because we cut to the break in action to get what could have been saved for a Dynamite. I'm not even going to lie. But hey, you know what? We are in the state of Washington. We have Darby on the show later in the evening. So we also got to get Swerve, who is also from here. So really quickly, we're just going to go through this because this was a whole promo that could have been on a Dynamite. So it kind of killed the momentum for me a little bit. But Swerve returns. He gives us an update on his health. It's a little bit of touch and go still, but he is almost ready to come back. Nana is in the ring too. Swerve's here to talk about, the future too. And then he is interrupted by MVP and Shelton Benjamin. MVP, hypes up Swerve that this is his house and he's a fantastic wrestler. And I always knew that you would do great. I will say, as much as I was rolling my eyes that we had a promo at a pay-per-view, I will say, because I love Swerve is unapologetically black. And when I say that is he said, MVP, as a kid growing up, watching you, Shelton, like you paved the way for wrestlers like us, black wrestlers, to make it big in this business, which I was like, yes, I am here for this. And, Swerve kind of goes back and forth a little bit of, hey, Nana, I love you, but, you have not been great because I've lost the championship. My house burned up in flames. And then he did the callback that Hangman did, which I laughed at, was just like, you're still selling weed to high schoolers in the parking lot at the show. You thought I didn't hear that, right? And I'm just like, I loved it so much. But ultimately, Swerve says he never turns his back on family and he sides with Prince and Nana, which then gets Shelton Benjamin and Swerve to almost come to blows before being pulled apart. So on this upcoming week, we are getting Shelton Benjamin versus Swerve on Dynamite, I believe, which this is inevitably going to build to Swerve versus Bobby Lashley when Lashley comes in.
Well, and that was I want to bring up what David had brought up, because at the end of this promo, that was in my mind. I was like, where's Bobby Lashley?
So I found, according to Fightful, Bobby Lashley was at Wrestledream, but they decided not to have him debut there because this was Swerve's homecoming in a sense, and they didn't want to do a beatdown angle.
Fair.
But then I would have been like, but that sounds kind of great. That's how you get massive heat on Bobby, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. So
I liked what they did. I liked what they did. Could it have been saved for Dynamite? Yes, but all in all, it worked.
It definitely was.
I also want to know what rider or what is in Nano's contract that he can come out and before everything starts, he can hawk his coffee.
I love it. Nana is never afraid to promote his own coffee, and I love that so much. It's so fantastic. But we move on to after Swerve's promo. Okay, so next up we have Hologram versus Beast Mortos in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I'm not gonna lie. I was not sure how I would feel about this match. And then by the end of it, I thought this was a really fun match. Now, I'm spoiled because I also watch CMLL, so I know that we get this on the weekly down there. But I will say for Western audiences who are not watching CMLL on a weekly basis, I thought this was fun.
Yeah, and I would like to pose that question to our audience. If you don't watch Lucha Libre on the regular, how did you feel about the setup, the best 2 out of 3 pinfall? Because as the commentary said, that is a very standard Lucha setup where the match is, best 2 out of 3. Coming back to this match, I thought it was good. It brought Beast Mortos was Beast Mortos, Hologram was Hologram, and they put on a great match. I wish Beast Mortos could have been more rudo in this match. But it worked. Also, when Hologram smacked his head when he did that one move, ouch. Good on him for fighting through that pain.
Oh, absolutely. Because I was a little bit worried, but hey, you know what? Hologram did the thing. Hologram got the first pinfall. Beast Mortos got the second, and winning the match and getting the third was Hologram. Hologram remains undefeated in AEW. So this is a fun match. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, I wanted to hate this match on paper because I hated how we got here. But this match kind of ruled. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
First of all, I was very surprised not seeing Brody King come out in any type of House of Black makeup, which was kind of crazy. I was like, huh? And then Darby was out here too. This was Darby Allin versus Brody King. It was a singles match that originated from an open challenge. Darby, losing his championship match against Danielson here at Wrestledream, decided to call out the locker room, and anybody who wanted to make a name off of Darby's back could. Brody King answered, and then we find out that Darby has yet to pin Brody in an actual match. He beat him in a coffin match, but he has not pinned the big man himself. Then I witnessed Darby beat up Brody King the week of leading into Wrestledream with the whole entire Rock. That was nuts to watch.
Yep.
This match was as brutal as I thought it was going to be. It's what we expect from both of these. Darby Allin, like, looking like he's about to kill himself every 5 seconds and just going nonstop. We tell Darby he needs to slow down, but he's not going to listen to us. But that's one.
No.
And then this also had Brody King just being bruiser, like the bruiser, like,
Oh yeah,
throwing Darby around, throwing him all over the place, standing on him by putting the steps on top of Darby, which was kind of sick looking. I will say my favorite spot of this is when Darby pushes Brody onto the steps, and then Brody just goes from top turnbuckle down to steps, and then Darby hits the coffin drop onto Brody, who is on said steps. And then I heard that like massive meat thud between the two colliding bodies. I'm like, oh God, somebody help them.
yep.
But Darby pins Brody King and ultimately wins the match. This was a fun one. I like this.
Yeah. Fun use of the steel steps. I thoroughly enjoyed that whole portion, where Darby used it as a launching pad, and then Brody used it to bury Darby. In that picture, I gotta look on the internet to see if I can find that picture of Brody standing on the steel steps with his hands up like this on top of Darby, because that was just a cool, the way the cameraman had that framed, that was just really cool. This match is the type of match I want to see from Darby Allin all the time. And this is what I was talking about regarding past reviews when talking about Darby Allin. We don't need 14 minutes of Darby Allin getting whooped up and then him just hitting a coffin drop and getting a 1, 2, 3. He's a good wrestler. This shows he's a good wrestler. Yeah, it did have some of that where Brody King did toss him around like a rag doll, because that's who Brody King is, but it wasn't 20 minutes of Brody King throwing Darby Allin around. Darby was able to find counters to some of Brody's moves. He was able to do some things to bring the big man down. And this is the type of match that I want to see Darby Allin wrestle from here on out. No more getting your ass kicked for 14 minutes and just putting 1 minute worth of work in and getting a 1, 2, 3. Please. This is the type of match I want from Darby Allin.
Absolutely. And we will talk more about Darby at the very end of the show, but we go on to our next match. So I said the International Championship was my match of the night. This was my second. Let me tell you. So starting with AEW World Tag Team Championships were on the line. Bucks versus Private Party. I wanted Private Party to win so bad.
They had to do that special promo thing.
That video just told me they were going to lose.
Just so they could kick us in the balls really well at the end there. Spoilers, EVPs win.
The Young Bucks do retain their championships, but I want to say Private Party made them work for that win. Private Party brought everything they had, and they kicked out of everything Bucks were throwing at them.
And they were so over.
This crowd was behind them.
Oh man. Yeah. I hope that this is not the last Young Buck Private Party. And I hope this serves as a catalyst. So then maybe when we get Young Bucks Private Party Part 2, Private Party wins. This is that type of situation that in the Part 2 match or the Part 3 match or Part 4 match, whatever, if Private Party does win the belts from the Bucks, that it'll add to that gravitas, I feel like this match really put Private Party over. It was a great match. Really interesting to see all those other people in the audience watching. Stokely Hathaway, Action Andretti, Leo Rush, and Top Flight. So, going, and again, I don't want to dig too deep into it because that's for tomorrow night. Going to be interesting to see, going forward, how all these individuals play in this whole thing going on. But as match wise, this was a great tag team match. I would put this number 2 behind FTR Bullet Club Gold.
From this year, definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Man, the crowd gave the standing ovation to Private Party afterwards. Isaiah Cassidy crying broke me, but in a weird good way. I was like, this is why I watch wrestling, you guys. Isaiah Cassidy and Private Party gave everything they had, and it just wasn't their night. But I agree with you, Adolfo. I really hope we get a round 2 between these two down the line. I would love for Private Party to take it from the Bucks at Full Gear or even World's End. So, but who knows where everyone's going to play, given what we're going to talk about in a little bit. But let's just get this out the way. This was the only dud for me on this whole entire night. On Mark Briscoe brought it. I was just like, Chris Jericho, just go away. That's it.
Yeah, Mark Briscoe brought it. Spoilers, Briscoe retains. I feel that wrestling wise, this was a good enough match to keep you watching the pay-per-view. This wasn't a match that I was like, oh, okay, I'm out. I'm gonna go and shut off. Right. I feel like this match gave up the perfect balance of being interesting enough to watch, but at the same time, if you had to go to the bathroom or if you have to get a snack or whatever,
it was fun too. This is definitely a good main event on Dynamite type of match.
Right. Exactly. But I'll tell you what, where it was placed between the EVPs, Private Party and Mox Danielson, I personally think that this was a brilliant place for this match, because especially after that emotional Private Party match, this gave the audience the break they needed for what was to come.
Oh, absolutely. Jericho tried to hit the J Drilla, which was fun to watch in a weird way. Mark Briscoe hits the Froggy Bow into the J Drilla for the win. Your winner and still ROH World Champion Mark Briscoe. Don't need to say more. Large William got involved in this match. So did the Bounty Hunter. But Orange Cassidy came in to even the odds for Mark Briscoe. Briscoe is still our world champion. And tomorrow I'm going to give my thoughts as to who should dethrone Briscoe for this ROH championship. So stay tuned, because now we get into the main event.
Yep, the one everyone came for.
Which is the AEW World Championship. This is Bryan Danielson Bryan defending his AEW World Championship against Jon Moxley, who beat Darby Allin to take his championship spot at Grand Slam a couple weeks ago. And here we are. Okay, let's talk about the match first. Then we'll talk about everything that happened afterwards. But the match itself, Mox was not playing around. When he said he has to be the one to end Danielson, he literally, metaphorically, symbolically, and physically ended Bryan Danielson, because this was, for 20 minutes, I was watching Mox brutalize Danielson.
Yeah, it was very interesting, because it was like watching a Hollywood, the young warrior, taking it to the old veteran warrior, and the old veteran warrior just had the fight, but was just tired and was ready to pass on, kayfabe wise. Apparently this is the way that Bryan wanted to give it up, and this is the way that Bryan wanted to retire. He wanted to give it to Mox. So Bryan Danielson gets his wish. And it was very interesting seeing Bryan Danielson getting whooped on the way he did, because normally Bryan Danielson, he'll get whooped on in the match, but he's got count. He's more ring tactician, you know, and he'll get those counters and whatnot. But this, it just like, yeah, you know, it seemed like when Bryan tried to do something, Mox knew what Bryan was going to do, which makes sense given their history. And I felt this match told a good story. You know, and it was the end of Bryan Danielson. I know a lot of people probably are not going to agree with this, but you know, the Warrior falling in his home is an apropos ending to me, you know. It's kind of like the 300 Last Stand. You know,
it definitely gave that feel. And alas, Mox was the one person, and he got the job done. He slayed the American Dragon. Jon Moxley is your winner and new AEW World Champ.
Right. I will say, how do you, us nerds, we know this. How do you beat a dragon? You have to get a raid group together, because for the first portion of this match, it wasn't just Mox that was taken to
Marina Shafir was running interference.
Yup. And she was, you know, jumping in, getting some chokeholds, this, that, and the other, until she got, you know, finally ejected. So, you know, it was for a while there, it was definitely a 2v1.
It definitely was. And then it became a 1-on-1, but it was not enough, because also watching Mox pile drive Danielson into the table was kind of gnarly to watch too.
Yeah.
Like, boo, it's crazy. But
yeah.
Moxley slayed the American Dragon as your new AEW World Champion. So then we have Marina Shafir return along with Pac and Claudio. And, you know, they initially put the bag in, they have a duffel bag in which Claudio takes the title that Mox gives him and puts it in the duffel bag. Yep. It was kind of funny watching Claudio struggle to put it in the bag a little bit. I was like, it's one of those like performance things. Then they proceed to beat up on Danielson even more. And then this is where ish hit the fan, because then Darby Allin and Wheeler Yuta come out to save Danielson. And I was just like, all right, so the numbers game is still going to get them. But you know what? Wheeler and Darby, this could be fun. And then Wheeler, you piece of shit. Like, but I'm interested because he still looked hurt, because then he drop kicked Darby, and Wheeler turns on Darby and on Danielson by proxy. And so Claudio gives him the bag, tells Wheeler he's got to do it. And then Wheeler proceeds to choke Danielson out with the plastic bag.
Yeah.
That is still a sight that I will be like, oh, the asphyxiation nightmares I'm going to have from this. Like, but you know what? It was visual storytelling, and the crowd is perfect, because they weren't yelling, they weren't booing, they were dead silent.
They were.
It was perfect.
They were in shock.
So that was the first half of this. Then Claudio gets a chair while Pac is tying Darby up to the corner with duct tape, making this kid watch like Clockwork Orange.
Marina Shafir waterboards Darby,
which was kind of crazy to watch as well. So Jeff Jarrett and Private Party come out to try to make the save, but it is not enough, because Claudio stomps on the neck with the chair onto Danielson. And then this is where the whole entire babyface locker room jumps out, because then we got Orange Cassidy, Daniel Garcia, Adam Cole. Like, also, Jeff Jarrett somehow magically got cut because he was bleeding by the end of this too. I'm like, Jeff Jarrett, what did you get cut with? I want to know.
Again,
that's kind of crazy.
Yet again, I did not have babyface Double J Jeff Jarrett on my 2024 wrestling bingo card. So
me neither.
You know,
but bad guys go away, and we end the Wrestledream pay-per-view with the shot of Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin looking on to everything that's going on with Danielson with the medical team and taking him out. The baby faces are watching, but they focus on that shot of Orange and Darby as Wrestledream goes off the air.
Yeah.
What a way to end this pay-per-view. I was like, Oh, AEW, you're sitting on a gold mine. We will dive deeper into it tomorrow, but now you literally have the rest of a story to tell all the way up to World's End, the shortest, but you can lead this all the way into Revolution next year.
Yep. Barring injuries.
Barring injuries, please, nobody get hurt or do anything too crazy. Darby, I'm looking at you.
Or Adam Cole looking at you.
Everybody, just stay safe.
When he came sprinting out, he kind of was doing that like.
I know. I was worried. I was like, don't hurt yourself now.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Wrestledream told a great story. You know. Yeah, man. You know, I know a lot of people are hating on that whole like plastic bag thing, blah blah blah. But you know, I think it's violent storytelling, and I thought the story was told really well. And it leaves it open for this more story to be told. You know, because you got all these young, hungry baby faces. All the it came out today that all the AEW belts are being held by heels right now. So, like,
which is crazy.
Yeah. So, you know,
you are setting up some amazing babyface wins and stories to be told to get their moments. Like,
yeah.
But Adolfo, that brings us to the end of Grapple Guru. So we got one last thing to do, which is give our empanada ratings for Wrestledream. I'm gonna have you go first. So from beginning to end, what do you give AEW Wrestledream 2024?
Are we including 0 hour? I know we always ask this.
I will say,
you know what? I'll include 0 hour.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 empanadas. 9 out of 10. You know, I was glued to the monitor throughout the entirety of the pay-per-view. There were only a few things that just kind of like were hiccups that kind of like that messed with the momentum, but at the same time it was still interesting to see, you know. However, that one Orange Cassidy spot, they could have left that out. That was really weird. But yeah, 9 out of 10. Definitely. This is one I am going to go back and revisit for top wrestling events of the year.
I agree. I also give this a 9 out of 10 because I gave it, on our recap photos, I gave Wrestledream an A- for grading and a 9 out of 10 here. Y'all using the empanada scale. I think this is my favorite pay-per-view that AEW has done this year. And I think from top to bottom, even with the ROH championship match, there was not a thing that I absolutely hated. Like, I liked or loved a whole bunch of stuff. And so I give this a 9 out of 10. And this is going to lead credence into our review tomorrow, but I am going to bring back Nathan for twice. So it's like, even back to Claudio being upset with Brian doing the Anarchy in the Arena match, BCC hated watching Brian injure himself like a friend losing themselves to addiction and needed to end it before it got worse. Which, again, beautiful storytelling, a great twisted motivation for a top heel like Mox, because he sees himself as the hero in this story. He needed to prevent Danielson from becoming his own worst enemy, which, if that is the story we run with this, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow, I am all here for it. But that is going to be it for Grapple Gurus this week. Adolfo, thank you so much for being here this evening to review Wrestledream with me.
Thank you. We're not doing prediction.
So we technically are, but the professor and JVL didn't put their predictions in. So I have to figure out a way. I will say, though, I don't have the placard, but your winners for AEW Wrestledream are you and me. We're tied with 9-1 because we had the same picks through and through. So we only got one wrong, because we both picked Private Party.
Right.
But I will give the updated scores tomorrow during our All Elite Ensemble review. Ensemble. Woo. So,
alrighty.
really quickly though, because we didn't have a show yesterday for our WWE, I have to do it here. The rest of this week is also just as jam-packed. We just did the Wrestledream review. Tomorrow is our All Elite Ensemble review. Wednesday's a doubleheader as the NXT Losos crew and Los Lobos de la Lucha will be covering, well, not together, but separately, NXT and CMLL. On Thursday, Andrew will be making a reappearance on the review side of things as me and him cover GCW Fight Club. On Friday, we have our Ring of Honor and TNA reviews. And then on Sunday morning, we have our WWE review. And then tune in as myself and Will be watching MLP's Forged in Excellence pay-per-view. There's a lot of ROH, TNA, and somewhat AEW crossover in this event, which is going to be a fun time for sure. I cannot wait for all of that. But that's going to be it for us here at Grapple Guru. So for myself and Adolfo and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, but more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll see you tomorrow for the All Elite Ensemble review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and okay, Billy Stark's outro. See you later.